Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hummingbot Show, a regular interview where we do interviews with members of the crypto community. And we try to do this show more really for our traders in the community to show the Hummingbot community how new protocols work and explain how they can really make money from all the new developments and things that happen in crypto. So today I'm really excited to have Feng Long from Conflux here today, and we're going to talk about how Conflux is really taking a different approach to DeFi versus many of the other protocols out there. Hey, Fan, so can you tell me more about your background and how Conflux got started?
Yeah, well, great. So I'm a founder of Conflux, and I'm also coming from academia, where I would say I'm a assistant professor at the University of Toronto. I'm doing researches in blockchain, in security, in programming languages, and in Conflux, I'm focusing on the strategic end, the research, and then also I'm managing some of the government relationship when we have conversations with Chinese government. I think
Hmm.
Conflux is unique in three aspects. I mean, the first is how to get started and the people behind it. Well, it's really start from a research lab where initially we have the top scientists of Tsinghua University and also myself and those people who are initial goal is to just publish a paper
Hmm.
investigate how to increase the blockchain scalability, and it was around the time where our paper gets finished, and then that was the kind of the hype of the last cycle, right? 2018,
Yeah.
2017, and then we gets persuaded by our investor friends, says, okay, you have to turn this into a real project rather than something on the paper. Then we said, okay, that's not a bad idea, and that's well, obviously we have no clue what we are going to end up for, right? And then that's how we started Conflux project. We raised the initial money, the capital of a Conflux project, and then start that. And that means I think we actually Conflux accumulated the really top scientists in China and the Chinese people behind it. And that's one unique is the team, the background. And well, if you may know that there are our chief scientist is Andy Turing Award winners in where we have a group of scientists who are like alumni of Tsinghua University and also Andy students. So that's kind of I would say the best team, technical team behind. And so that's the first unique aspect about Conflux. That actually leads to, but it's like provides opportunity. But now it's also, I would say, the related to the second aspect, the unique aspect of Conflux is we have being we are the I would say the only regulatory compliant public chain project in China where we managed to working on public chain technology, working on public chain project, but also maintain a good communication channels with Chinese government, and we are even endorsed and supported by the various levels of government to do the project. You
That's actually really interesting because I didn't realize that the Chinese government was kind of looking at different blockchains from like a regulatory perspective.
No,
Just
it's not like a regulatory. It's the thing here is like Chinese government always been very keen to develop blockchain technique, right? They
mm,
probably heard like political bureau
yeah,
meetings like 2019 where our president saying, well, we want to develop blockchain technology, we want to be a leader in that area. I mean, but it's always tricky when it comes
right.
to public chain. Well, the reason of that is there are a lot of, I would say, uh, there are a lot of regulation issues around the public chain, and also there are a lot of, I would say, illegal activities behind different teams who claim to doing public chain in China. That causes, I mean, really a big trouble for government to get involved into the public chain stuff. So that's actually why you see this weird phenomenon where, you know, in China, it's kind of crypto is banned or not banned, but there are a lot of exchanges that really have high volatility, but it is officially banned. I mean, if you're not like in China, you don't have a chance to talk with those people in China, you will never understand this phenomenon, right? The reason of this, for example, is because I would say that there are a lot of people in the government see the opportunity and see the value of this technique, but they don't have a good way to nurture, to guide it toward public good, right? I mean, if this technique stays in a way where it's a technique that is just moving money from one group of people's pocket to another group's pocket, it will go nowhere from a government point of view. And well, because our background and because, well, just our unique positions in China, we present such opportunity for the government. And that's why you see there are recently, for example, you will see the news like while government invests monies to support our public chain research. And you will also see, well, probably this is already very big in China, but not reported yet in the West is, well, we have the technology advancement of Conflux, the public chain, has been announced as achievement of Shanghai government and have been reported by all the official media like People's Daily, Xinhua News, which basically means that the government is supporting what we are doing and hope we can do more. So that is kind of the unique aspect. The second unique aspect what we have is we are the only regulatory compliant public chain. You will see that there are like regulatory compliant like alliance chain or blockchain technique effort, right? You can see like Chinese DECP, even there are people talking about BSN. Those are regulatory compliant, but they are alliance chain, right? They are, well, or you would say that private chains, private chain or like consortium chain, or in the restrictive definition, it's not blockchain. Okay, there are a lot of people believe this is not a blockchain, but I mean, in China, I mean, those are counted as blockchain, and that's and also, I mean, there are things like Polkadot. Well, their presence in China, they say they're building communities in China, and also there are like original like Ether, all those kind of things, right? Are and also people there are Neo, or some of like previous projects that you may heard of. They are mostly, I would say, they are public chain, but I would say they have no chance of being regulatory compliant or being like just saying that this is a technology that a government want to see its growth or being saying. So you see this trend. I mean, even the people are sometimes gets confused with BSN, and BSN actually has two parts. Okay, that's a smart thing about them. There are BSN and a BSN Global.
When we say BSN, what are you referring to?
Blockchain Service Network.
Okay. Is it like a blockchain that's in China right now?
No, it's kind of some platform which is going to assemble different kind of a blockchain technique where you can one-click the launch a full node or something like that, and that is so BSN actually. There are sometimes you will see a lot of projects saying that I joined the BSN, so I'm doing good in China from China. But the reality is there are BSN and the BSN Global. The BSN is a consortium chain only, and the BSN Global is for public chain. but it's only sharing a name and it's never regulatory compliant in China.
I see. Okay.
It's like people are playing the game.
Yeah.
So
name game. Yeah.
So
actually, well, just one point to clarify, because I think I definitely like, so I definitely understand what you're saying, because we have, investors who are, from China, and kind of we deal with a lot of Chinese projects. So I feel like we understand the mentality, that Chinese projects have. But I think a lot of people in the West don't. And I think there's always this misconception that, like, if a chain is like approved or regulated by the Chinese government, maybe that means that the government can see everything that you're doing on the chain or something like that. So can you kind of like maybe like just like demystify what it means to be regulated and what it doesn't mean?
So here's I think right now there are almost zero regulations behind blockchain, public chain. I mean, almost zero. That's because everyone knows that the technique is still in this infant stage, right? I mean, who knows what will happen in this, and it's too naive to talk about regulation right now. And that's a state that also same here. But I think staying regulatory compliant is actually, we're just saying that it's the equivalent of maintaining a good communication channel with government. And that's the equivalent of, understand or make the government understand that the growth of this technology is something that they want to see. That means they will not impede and maybe even encourage its growth. And that brings a lot of value to it, right? I mean, you never want the policeman knock your door saying you guys are doing pump and dump scheme and send you to prison, right? And that's natural. I mean, that's also true for every DeFi people working on it. So that's a value. And I know the worry about it. I would say that what would happen, it will never, Conflux will always be a public chain, will never downgrade to a private chain. What would happen, it would, for example, if things grow big, how Chinese government would act would be same applying to all public chain, which is they will probably apply regulation rules at the surface level, connecting the blockchain and the internet. Like, there are information the government does not want, they just cut it off at scan pages, right? That happened in the past with Ether scan. That will happen again and again. This is just how GFW functions, and they will just keep functioning that. And Chinese government censor transactions? No, it will never have any such possibilities. I think they see no need. I think government sees no. Chinese government just right now they are happy to see the technology grow, and especially they want to see a team that has more Chinese affiliation to lead this technology innovation. And the regulation part of the puzzle is going to come much later, and probably would be a combination of this kind of sensor at the scan level, which is what they're already doing for Ether scan, plus they build their own chain analysis stuff similar to what the US government did. Right?
I think this is actually a really important point to draw out about like what the Chinese government, like, what the motivations are, because I do think a lot of people in the West kind of look at the Chinese government and the Great Firewall, and they're like, oh, it must be all bad. It's like it must be all intended to like suppress information and prevent people from being freely able to do things. And I think it's actually good to kind of bring out the other side of the coin, which is, obviously I think a lot of people in the West don't like being restricted, but it's like the more kind of like more oversight you have on something, the less that, kind of like bad actors, like, scammers.
Yeah, right now I think the Chinese government, the regulatory side is they are more looking at like pumping and dump stuff, right? And that's actually why they have a hard time to find a handle to get their food on public chain before they they have a talk with us. And that's because in the past there are Chinese project claim to be the Ethereum 2.0, 3.0, but well, in the end they pump and dump, made hundreds of millions of dollars money, and then they just gone, right? It's like in the end, how could they? In the end, what really cares from government point of view is they want technical innovation, right? And they want things or technical standards or things that have been created by Chinese affiliate team, but they don't want to deal with the social potential social trouble that created by pumping and dump stuff, and they know that's why. It's not to a stage where even you think about bring the GFW mentality into this. I would say that Chinese government is not thinking about that yet because it's just too infant stage, right? There's nothing worry about it in this stage, right? Besides, just don't do crazy pumping and dump, which is actually what the investors want, right? Do you want to be robbed by teams that is doing that? Probably not, right?
And I think that they also kind of crack down on a lot of the third tier exchanges. Like small exchanges are basically casinos for some of the
they're doing that, and I think it's for good reason, right? Those third tier exchanges are publishing third and fourth tier coins, which you have no idea what it is behind. Besides, it's basically a casino game, right?
Yeah, that's true. Cool. Well, let's move on a little bit and kind of really draw down exactly how Conflux works.
I would just say, okay, so that's the second aspect. And I would say, well, long term, it gives a lot of value to Conflux because if you think about all important internet innovations, China is a unique landscape with its culture, with all sorts of things, right? And well, there are always a good representative of in China versus the corresponding counterpart in the West, like WeChat versus Facebook, like Alibaba versus Amazon, those kind of analogy, right? And I think that gives a bright future for Conflux because, well, if a public chain is a very huge thing you believe, then you naturally would say that Conflux has a very bright future just by standing in the land of China. So that's the second aspect. I would say the third aspect is, of course, our technical innovation, which I think we have developed our system end-to-end based on much faster consensus algorithm that do not sacrifice security or decentralizations when achieving those, right? So people are talking about sharding, or people are talking about those things, those kind of a crazily innovative technique, but a lot of those are actually sacrificing something, right? Where we are not sacrificing this, and people are saying that we're doing magic, we're actually not, right? People are saying, wow, how you solve the a dilemma or trilemma that people are saying. The reality is we're not solving trilemma. We're just, bring the level. People are saying that, okay, the blockchains will always be bottlenecked by the slowest computer because if everyone is verifying a transaction. That's true. It's also true in Conflux. But the real question is, what's the real capability of that slowest computer, right? Nowadays, even give you a MacBook Pro laptop, they could send and receive 1,000 transactions per second. They could process 1,000 transactions per second. The only thing is that the current implementation of system plus the consensus algorithm that impede us from doing that. And that's what Conflux managed to achieve, which is remove those things and realize the real potential of every hardware.
Okay.
And
okay. So,
that's
yeah. Can we kind of drill down a bit deeper into kind of like how it works? Because I would say I think most of the viewers of the show are probably familiar with the kind of like the what's called a scalability trilemma, where you have to sacrifice one of decentralization, security, and it's scalability slash speed in order to accomplish one of the two. So how does Conflux achieve that? Or more specifically, how is Conflux different from other protocols?
Yeah. So okay. The real answer to this question is well, the trilemma still stays, but you need to understand deeper about what trilemma actually says, right? The trilemma says every computer has constant number of resource, let's say OC, okay?
Yep.
And well, if you are asking the network to keep growing, the number of transactions will keep growing, which is assumption they made. And then eventually you will be overrun by the growth of the network or the growth of the need. Then they're saying that is used by Ethereum people as a kind of a justification for we have to do sharding. Okay. What we're saying is, okay, pretty good. What you're saying is right, but what is this constant? Right? What is this constant? Right? Ethereum can only process 10 or 20 transactions per second. Is our computer only be able to process 10 or 20 transactions per second because hardware limit, or just because Ethereum coder sucks? Right? Right. I mean, that's a reality. Okay. And the reality is, well, certainly if you do better on the consensus, you do better on the system building, you can push this boundary to 1,000 transactions per second because every hardware nowadays could process that amount. Right? And it still holds, the trilemma still holds in a sense that, well, if in the end we are all going to need more than that, then either we wait for hardware to grow more powerful, or we have to do some sort of sharding. But I mean, at least there are still significant room to improve, and we do not need to make such difficult sacrifice about decentralization and the security yet. That's our position, and that's what we're managing to do.
Yeah, okay, I like that actually, because I do think that I would say specifically for DeFi, sharding, at least right now, I'm not sure how it's going to work, because every DeFi application is kind of like, rests on composability as one of the key tenets. And when you shard, and then communications break down or take longer between shards, then you basically break composability. And so to me, I feel like, I think that's one of the biggest unanswered questions with ETH2, which is, how is ETH2 going to fix things, quote, if everyone's on one shard?
Well, you don't need to worry about that. Soon people will say that L2 is the real ETH2.
Layer 2 also breaks composability.
Yes, which is true. So you just need to pick a layer, right? You just need to pick a layer, I would say.
Yeah, but I think this central question, which is like, how does crypto interoperate in a when there's more than just one chain, or one chain or one layer is one of the single, like, it's probably the biggest unanswered question right now.
I think, okay, so I believe there are a lot of gravity's pool of liquidity or assets to stay on one chain. But if you look at how communication network evolve, eventually, no matter how big the cost is, if there are actually an increasing need of the bandwidth or the capacity, and there are new generation of technique that satisfies the need, no matter how big the cost, people will make move. Right? If you look at the transition between 2G, 3G to 5G, right? I mean, 5G network is so damn expensive, but everyone is investing in it, right? So I would predict that in the long run, the all the things will converge to some next generation network. And well, it could be Ethereum 2.0 if they manage to solve their problem. It could be Conflux. It could be all the thing. But I mean, all the solutions about, I don't believe in the solution about, you know, layer 2 or those being a permanent solution, because that's just against what we observe in other areas, right? No matter how much people, I mean, how much deeper people love the Ethereum 1.0 network, it's a reality is that it's so damn expensive and so damn slow, right? Mm-hmm. You just can't use it, right? People can't afford it, right? You cannot, nowadays, I mean, you transfer USDT, it costs you $20 or $30. I mean, it's just absurd, right? Right? And that's just the reality and how I see things will move. So certainly we believe we are a strong contender, and we want to, you know, be part of this game. And at this stage, we are also looking for, I would say, building key infrastructures that enables assets to moving around and moving across chains. And that's what we are working on right now. I think we certainly understand there are substantial residual liquidities on Ethereum. No matter how expensive it is, those liquidities or assets will be there for the next few years. But in the end, it either moves to layer 2 or moves to Ether 2.0 if it ever created, or, you know, moves to all the chains where you can have more, you know, lower cost transactions that doing DeFi or doing all the things, right?
Yeah. I'll say it might be. I actually think that there'll be room for more than one like successful large blockchain feature, because you know, it's like, to me, blockchains are this weird new type of thing, and it combines certain characteristics of communication networks, but also combines certain aspects like programming languages. You know, because programming languages, obviously, you know, people have their own flavors and ones they like, and so even though, you know, like JavaScript, Python, and Ruby can all do the same thing, you know, people adhere to other different ones based on what they like. Actually, or like Python versus, let's say, C++ is probably better analogy in terms of how different they are. But I think it's kind of like, plus they also modernize as well. You know, like, you know, Python has gone from, you know, now it's Python 3, which is like more advanced than Python 2. But I think it's like there's always a graduation you see. And I think, to me, like blockchain protocols are kind of halfway between programming languages, currencies, and communication.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's hard to predict, right? What would be the landscape of the future blockchain, or whether there will be one or multiple or more. But at least I would say that the trend is clear. I think, well, everyone's agreeing that, you know, Ethereum is too expensive, right? Yes. We cannot pay it, right? We cannot keep paying it, and it's just okay. And well, we cannot keep paying this ridiculous amount to miners for a single transaction, right? That's everyone, what everyone agrees.
Yeah, cool. So let's get more specific. Let's talk about what Conflux can do today and where the opportunities are for developers and traders to interact.
Yeah, sure. I think a very good opportunity arises nowadays between, I would say, Ethereum chain and also those new centralized, like, I would say centralized exchange chains, which they have a lot of liquidity, they have a lower transaction frictions, but maybe people are worrying about, I mean, whether they are being fully decentralized or not. Yep. But there are a lot of DeFi activities happening there, right? And so a lot of projects are trying to, you know, they want to keep their roots in Ethereum or in Conflux, in those kind of decentralized chains at least. But they also want to enjoy the liquidity benefit in those chains. So they're creating, for example, different versions of tokens, and they are suddenly raise the need of moving tokens around, because if you do not or not be able to move things around, well, you may end up have weird things where it's the same token, but on this chain its price is $1. On that chain is 1.1, just because there's no way to move around, and there's well, fortunately, I mean, I would say Conflux shuttle flow is already released, and I think we already connected Ethereum to direction from Conflux, and also BSC to direction from Conflux. And soon we will be Hackle to direction of Conflux, and a cohort of projects. And also we will be linked with OKEX chain if they are launching ever. And there will be a cohort of projects using our infrastructures to moving their tokens around or be able to move token around. And then I would say for traders, there are new opportunities of, I know a lot of people are already doing arbitrage on the same chain, but there could be arbitrage opportunities across different chains.
That sounds really interesting. Can you describe a bit more how, say, Conflux, a shuttle flow, how that works and how that kind of helps projects move coins between chains?
Yeah, so basically Conflux can serve as an intermediate bridge where we connect so two directions. So nowadays with shuttle flow, you can move a ERC20 token from Ethereum to Conflux and move it back. There are certainly some cost of doing that because Ethereum is so damn expensive, right? I mean, there are even doing that across chains, there are like Ethereum gas costs, and it costs money. But you can move around now, and also there are you can do that to the same way with BSC's tokens, right? And
we say move, is it like is it just like an automated like a smart contract?
It's automated smart contract process where of course would require there are a group of multi-signed trusted operators to monitor the chain situation, relay the transactions, but it is fully automated in a way that, I mean, monies are locked on one chain and create a clone on another chain to simulate this move. And what you can do, for example, nowadays is you can move your Ethereum tokens for Conflux first, and move from Conflux to BSC. So you get a asset which you can go through this bridge twice to go to BSC, and a lot of projects are saying that they're using it, right? So D-Force, for example, which is a project that claims they're using it, and I would say more will be joining very soon. What's the problem? What kind of problem they can solve? For example, some projects they already issued tokens on different chain, right? But it should be the same token, but just there's no moving around capability. And the price are different. It's weird, right?
It's okay. It's okay. This is something I know a lot about because I used to work in finance, and the same problem exists in finance when you have stocks, equities that are listed on two different exchanges. Like if it's listed on Hong Kong Stock Exchange and on NYSE, you have a problem because you have two assets trading two different markets with potentially two different prices. And so basically, in order to do this, what the company does is they say, okay, anyone who has one share of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange stock or one share on the New York Stock Exchange stock, they can come to us and we will basically trade one for one. To do this.
Yeah, so what we can do is for those kind of projects solve their problem. They don't want this, right? Their community members say, what's going on? Why it's more expensive in BSC, right? And then what they can do is they can both cross their tokens on Conflux and then have a contract on Conflux to just do a swap and then cross back. And the problem solved, right? And this also, once you have this bridge, you can just invite arbitrage traders to just automatically even those out.
Yeah. So for arbitrageur, right? For the arbitrageur, is it still like is it a 3-step process to go from like Ethereum to Conflux, or 2-step Ethereum to Conflux, and the Conflux is say to BSC, or like can they do it in one single kind of one trade?
Well, right now it's a need to use Conflux as an interbridge, and I would say that well, it's possible to improve the user experience, to hide the intermediate step, and if there's increasing need, we are happy to do that. But well, in the end, you need something to do the bridge, right? Something to do.
So actually, here's something I think it's So I would say, I didn't really mean from a UI perspective. I really meant from like a technical, like can you kind of like chain these two transactions together, and so whether like a developer can kind of automate an arbitrage trade that kind of starts at Ethereum, goes through Conflux, and ends up at BSC.
It is possible if you introduce more trusted relayers in the middle on Conflux. Just say, it's just every time you ask someone to automatically manage something, then you need to involve more trust, right? You don't want to deal with it, then you want to ask someone to do it on behalf, right?
I see. So the way it works is there's a relayer in the middle that kind of like brokers that transaction.
Yeah, that would be something to do if you do not want anything to deal with Conflux.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say I'm also asking because I think in the long term, there's actually might be an opportunity for Hummingbot users, because basically Hummingbot is really just a toolbox for people to automate any type of kind of like blockchain or exchange transaction. And so I think what we see is that a lot of our users want to build various types of processes. The process could be like
and if for example your Hummingbot users willing to trust Hummingbot, you guys can be the trusted relayer, right? Yes. And then you guys connect this, then there's no need, for example, to do that.
And to be honest, we actually may have members of the community who want to run a relayer, and so it's like it doesn't need to be Hummingbot, the organization, because we do see kind of members of the community who want to self-organize and run. Basically run nodes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just you need some sort of like mechanism in that to make sure that there are proper mechanism when some malicious behaviors happens in the cohort, right?
Yeah, and the reason I think this is interesting is because overall, I do think the need for people to go from one chain to another is going to increase in the future.
I think, of course. I mean, you see the trend, right? I mean, it's natural. Second is also just driven by the reality that Ethereum is too expensive nowadays. Right?
Yeah, and so what I see in the market now is like I feel like there's not an easy way to do that. It's like if I'm access on Ethereum, it's like I'm willing to pay that gas cost to get out of Ethereum. But like, I have no idea how to take my Ethereum token and move it to BSC or the OKX chain or those things right now. And if I'd probably have to jump through all these hoops and write some code and do that. And I think for most users, it's too hard.
Yeah. Well, if you want to move Ethereum to BSC now, you can do. You just try shadow flow.
Yeah, but I also think there's an opportunity. I think it's like because I think the way that these like for Conflux to work, you kind of need this relayer to kind of like process transactions or do other to basically to play a role in the ecosystem. And I think like a lot there actually might be an opportunity for Hummingbot users to like
sure. Right now I think there are a lot of projects they're saying that they're willing to be relayer, or at least we provide a way for them to exchange their two different kind of tokens, so that they can they can have a place where things gets evened out, not being crazy like one place is $1, another place is 1.1, right? Where it's just crazy and people keep asking why.
But I really like that you guys are trying to solve this problem, because to me this is one of the biggest problems that exists in blockchain right now, and I love the fact that you guys are focused on solving problems that affect daily use of crypto, because I deal with it. I hate paying $20 to transfer a single ERC20 token. So
nowadays it's crazy, right? And well, it makes me. because to me, I'm an Ethereum user, and also in the past, I'm also a holder.
Yeah.
But I mean, nowadays I have a mixture feeling. Right? I don't want
Yeah.
Ethereum price to go on,
Yeah.
to go higher. Not because I don't like Ethereum, just because I can't pay it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, it's just right. I know that every time it goes by 10x, so it goes by 10%. That means the transaction fee is
Yeah.
going 10%, and
Yeah.
it's going to be more ridiculous, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I have a bunch of tokens. I think I have like $100 worth of a bunch of tokens on my MetaMask wallet. But I'm like, okay, for me to move this out, I'll just pay like $40 in fees just to move it. So I'll lose like 40% of the value of this token if I just touch it. It's just stupid.
And then it's just stupid, right? And then you just say, okay, maybe I should just send all of them to Binance and then sell it, right?
Yeah,
and that might be a better option. I mean, what you can do, right? It's not like, I mean, in the end, right? Besides like we're looking at speculation, the price. I mean, where the price goes up, everyone is happy in the community. But well, in order for the community to move forward, things have to be useful, right? It has to be user friendly and have to make sense, right? When you start to have a single transaction costing like $30-40, then you realize, I mean, something isn't working, right? That's I mean, just don't try to. I mean, it's a joke when you say one hand you're saying that the banks are so efficient, our mission is to destroy the evil banks. On the other hand, you're charging more than the wire transfer, right?
Yeah, and especially it's like it actually hits the smallest people the worst. Like if you're Polychain Capital managing $500 million, you don't really care. But for individual users, the smaller you are, the more it hurts you. That's why I feel about crypto, because crypto is supposed to be about for people.
And there's an interesting story, right? There's one of my friend just told me after he spent like just like 2 months earlier when he was like a DeFi lover, and he spent some time in Ethereum DeFi, played Ethereum DeFi, and he's telling me, okay, on paper I should have made a lot of money, but in the end I made no money, simply because all the money have been eaten up by the transaction fees. And he even made a very curse of I hate DeFi because DeFi is kind of the place where whales are just eating the small guys, where whales can just don't care and move things freely because the transaction fee under their percentage is really small, right? They're paying like 0.0001 as a transaction fee or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But for normal people, I put $1,000 on the DeFi and I move it around. Okay, $50. Move it again, $50. If I want to get the token I mined, okay, boom, another $50. What I can do, right? I mean, it's like those small peoples are just automatically locked in the game. We're handicapped where the big whales are. I mean, this is a big problem, right? I mean, if the community does not try to solve this problem, then we are in trouble, right? The whole community is in trouble.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I think that's what opportunity, because I do think that's actually why I do think that smaller chains, at least right now, have an opportunity to capture those smaller users and give them an experience which they deserve. The same DeFi experience which lives on Ethereum, but available to individuals and smaller players. So yeah, I think I really like what you guys are doing with. But I think that interoperability problem, because right now like BSC has a lot of stuff going on, but just like moving your assets from Ethereum to BSC, a lot of people just don't know how to do that. So it's great that you guys are providing an option. But just to wrap up, because I think I want to cover many more topics than we were able to cover in this interview today. But I'm really glad we're having a conversation. But just wrapping up, I guess, besides shuttle flow, what are the other DeFi related things that Conflux is working on?
I think what we are also going to. So we have I think several DeFi project on Conflux natively, which operates on Conflux own tokens, and also the cross-chain Ethereum tokens as well, like Moonswap, right? And we are having more like our own version of compound token. Those kind of will be, but those projects, I think there will be opportunities in this, and the unique set would be built on top of Conflux, which provide low transaction fee, low friction, and also built on shadow flow, which enables project to accumulate assets from different chains, right? So the benefit of you do it in Conflux, while you can actually operate on different tokens, right? Tokens in BSC, tokens in Echo, tokens in Ethereum, tokens in all sorts of chains that shadow flow support. So that would be new opportunity as well, and I think there will be more new stuff going on in next few months. So to say, it's all developed by community, so I have no concrete schedule. It's not something I control. I mean, but I know that people in Conflux communities are working on those, so there will be news coming out, and just keep an eye on our Discord.
Cool.
Join the community. I think you guys will know.
Yeah. I'm hoping there'll be opportunity for Hummingbot users to kind of basically do these integrations as well, because we're best known for connecting to different exchanges like Binance and Huobi and so forth. But in the past 6 months, we've also started integrating into protocols. So we've integrated into Ethereum and then built a Uniswap and Bouncer connectors there. And then we've also integrated into Terra, and we're also building BSC right now. So that's kind of like I would say, I think from our side, we see an opportunity for Hummingbot users just to trade between kind of like centralized exchanges like Binance and decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, or ones listed on BSC or PancakeSwap, or even those in Conflux, to basically do arbitrage, market making, and liquidation, any type of bot that's possible.
I think certainly there will be. I mean, certainly there will be, and the advantage of doing that in Conflux would be low cost, plus you can access, in theory, to significantly more tokens or assets on different chains powered by shadow flow.
Well, and I think to me, like, enabling that developer community to support both your project but also make money for themselves, while also just increasing the overall efficiency and interoperability of blockchain is an opportunity that I think many people out there want to do. Because
I think when those project launches, I can connect the community members who are working on those, and to you guys. I think we're happy to.
Cool. And final question, I always like to ask this question because I think we live in this crazy time. How has the past year changed you, but also I guess your outlook on life, given kind of how how crazy it's been for everyone?
You mean the changes in the
blockchain
space?
Well, I think both the blockchain space, but also just like the pandemic and everything.
Well, I think the pandemic to certainly have more changes to my life. I think a lot of changes. I think we're restricted to travel, and when I teach course, I have to do Zoom. So everything's now on Zoom, right? And I've been keeping doing that, and that's certainly something that I would say very new to me, very new to everyone. And I just managed to cut my hair. I mean, to find a barber to do the haircut last week, where my hair have grown. My hair have been growing for half a year, and just it's start poking my eyes, right? I just felt like I cannot bear it anymore. That's a lot of changes, I think, and also I think it's especially challenging when I got a new baby born during that.
Wow. Congratulations!
Thank you. So that's a lot of changes, I think, for my life last year. In terms of the crypto market or the blockchain space, I don't being surprised about the market changes last year at all. I think we're in a crossroad for the world financial system, where the existing world financial system have been twisted for too much, right? If you think about it, if we have been almost staying, there's only like a temporary relief from the zero interest and QE for I think 3 years, less than 3 years. We have been, if we start from 2008, we have been in that period for roughly 10 years, right? Zero interest rate plus QE basically twist every capital allocation functions that the market should have, right? And now I think it's not surprising that Bitcoin or a lot of crypto asset becomes a high risk anti-inflation asset. I always say that Bitcoin is now a high risk anti-inflation asset, right? While gold is kind of a low risk anti-inflation. Whether you want to buy gold or buy Bitcoin depends on whether you like risk or not. That's always when people ask me whether I should buy Bitcoin.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and so I'm not surprised of that. And I'm more of like a builders. So the point is that I own some Bitcoin. It's like it does not change. I mean, it's like in the past, 1 year before, I live in my current way, and right now I still live in my current way. I spend most of the time working on like Conflux, working on coding, those kind of stuff, right? And not like it's like even like Bitcoin. Maybe my Bitcoin worth like 10x, 8x more on paper. Does not change much of my life.
Yeah. No, I'm with you too. To me, I feel like it's like, yeah, I agree. I think that this past year has shown that crypto can really change and transform the current financial system. Because when someone lists a token on Uniswap, before, if they were a stock, they would have to like be at least like $1 billion and hire all these investment banks just to get their asset listed on the New York Stock Exchange. But now it's like anyone can just push a button, list it on Uniswap, and enjoy instant liquidity for their token. So I think, to me, it's like the whole essence of finance is being disrupted and changed by blockchain technology. And it's only a matter of time, honestly, before what happens to investment banks and exchanges is going to be the same thing that happened to newspapers and department stores because of the internet. So how it's going to change, I don't think anyone really knows. But for me, I'm confident that change is coming to the financial industry.
Well, one thing people better to realize is, I think, that's the positive things about the change, which I totally agree. But I think, blockchain community tend to always be optimistic. Well, I sometimes also read, besides blockchain, also read a lot of geopolitical news and or think about how the humanity will evolve. I think you need to understand the negative thing about this is a lot of the world power structures are built on our current financial system. It's clearly showing that the change is going to come in. But if the financial system actually, undergo a big change and a collapse, there will be, severe consequences on the world politics and things. And we may see more crazy things than, for example, Donald Trump being elected.
Yeah,
that's all we say.
That's true. Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. I think what I mean is more like, I think even the people in the traditional financial system, they see areas where it's just very inefficient. Like the process of just issuing a stock is just brain damage in terms of how many people and just accountants and lawyers have to be involved just to issue one stock. And if you can make that more efficient, more transparent and more liquid using blockchain technology, it's better. But the downside is it's probably going to eliminate a lot of jobs. So the people, the accountants, the lawyers who will come there. And I do think that just like any other technology like internet, we have to deal with the human side of things. Like what happens when all this disruption happens and now millions of people lose their jobs because some technology has made things more efficient. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why it's actually similar in terms of kind of like finance versus something like how AI is going to eliminate lots of trucker and retail employee jobs.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's just naturally what would happen. I mean,
yeah, but I would say for me, because I spent the first 10 years of my life working at JP Morgan and Citi, I can't wait. I can't wait for those companies to.
You hate those bankers.
Yeah, no, actually, I don't hate the banks, but I do remember. I just remember working there and just being an engineer and being like, why is this taking so long? Why are there so many people involved when you can just automate this with code? So that's why I'd like to see it. Anyway, it was great talking to you, Fan. And,
great talk with you too.
And yeah, we'll get this interview posted, and hopefully it'll give both our communities more of a chance to learn about both Hummingbot and Conflux. And
that would be good. That would be good. Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.